Alright, this video is about dealing with similar shapes. I've already made a couple of introductory videos about similar shapes, so you can watch those as well. So if we want to solve for x and we know that the polygons are similar, all we really have to do is compare corresponding sides. Now this is a simple diagram. We can see that the side labeled 4x minus 8 corresponds to the side labeled 48. And then the side labeled 35 corresponds to the side labeled 42. The 25 is irrelevant for this problem. So all we do is write down a proportion equation. So I'm going to go from the left to the right, and we have 4x minus 8 over 48 equals, I have to go in the same order, 35 over 42. Now you could start just solving this equation if you wanted to. However, one smart idea would be to see if you can simplify anything first. So for example, on the right hand side, both of these numbers are multiples of 7. So let's see, 35 divided by 7 is 5, 42 divided by 7 is 6. And even on the left hand side, I can do a bit of simplification there as well, because in the top both 4 and 8 are multiples of 4, and 48 is a multiple of 4 as well. So 48 divided by 4 is 12, and then the top, if we divide out by a common factor of 4, we have x minus 2. So you don't have to do that, but as you see, if we didn't, the numbers that you'd have to work with would be quite a lot bigger. At this point, you can cross multiply if you like. So we're going to have 6 multiplied by x minus 2 and 12 multiplied by 5. So on the left hand side, again, we have 6 multiplied by x minus 2, and then we have 12 multiplied by 5. So solve this equation, and that's all we have to do. So we have 6x minus 12 equals 60. Add 12 to both sides. 6x is 72. Divide, oh, what did I write 17? Sorry, I think I said 72. 72. And now divide by 6, and you get x equals, I believe that's going to be 12. So x is 12, and we've done what was asked for. So what made this problem somewhat simple was that the two polygons had the same orientation, so we didn't have to think too hard about which sides corresponded to one another. However, let's look at this example when it's not incredibly obvious. So we'll start with side KF. That's where our variable is, so that's where most of our interest is going to be. I have to know if that corresponds to 20 or it corresponds to 16. Now, just looking at the picture, it looks like this side corresponds to this longer side KL. If you're unsure, or if you don't want to assume and possibly make a mistake, look at the order of the letters. Side KF, that's the first two letters. So side KF, yes, our intuition was correct. Side KF does have to correspond to side KL. Now, you could finish this up pretty quickly, but just to go through the method again, side KJ, now we know it has to correspond to 16, that's the only thing that's left, but again, just pretend the problem's a little bit harder than this. Side KG, that's the first and the last letter, has to correspond to the first and last letter, KM. So that is the correspondence. Once you know which sides correspond to each other, you'll write down a proportion equation again. So we have x minus 5, which corresponds with 20. And then you have to go in the same order, so we're going to start with the smaller triangle. 4 corresponds with 16. Once again, before you start doing any algebra, if you can simplify fractions, that's a good idea. So 4 over 16 is 1 over 4. And here, I'm not even going to cross multiply. The reason is we can just do some simple algebra if I multiply by 20 on both sides, that 20 goes away, and over here 20 over 4 is going to be a nice whole number. So you don't have to cross multiply, it's not always necessary. So we have x minus 5 equals, well, 20 divided by 4 is 5, and if you add 5 to both sides, you get x is 10. So I think I have one more example where the diagram is a little bit more complicated. So here we go. This one isn't too bad. I made a video with a couple of triangles in it, kind of like this, and my hint now is the same as it was then. If you are ever unsure about what's going on here, draw the two triangles separately. So I'll draw the small triangle and label that. It's 22, 24. My art skills are not very good, but it'll do. And we have the larger triangle, and it's labeled with 2x plus 14 and 33. Now I'll just give you a hint, because there are variations in this problem before moving on. What you will see sometimes is you might be given maybe this side, QB, where I'm going to put this red marking. If you need to, you might have to add or subtract to find these entire sides. But anyway, we didn't have to do that here. We just write down a simple proportion equation. So 2x plus 14, that's the side on top. That corresponds to 24. And then 33 corresponds to 22. So solve this equation. Again, I'm going to simplify before we get started. On the left-hand side, everything is a multiple of 2. So we can divide everything by 2. We get x plus 7 over 12. And on the right-hand side, both of these numbers are multiples of 11. So I'm going to divide by 11. Again, you don't have to cross multiply here. In fact, I really don't like the phrase cross multiply. We can take care of this in one step. If you multiply by 12 on both sides, that will do the trick. Because on the left-hand side, the 12s cancel. On the right-hand side, 12 divided by 2 is 6, and then times 3 is 18. So now if you subtract 7, 18 minus 7 is 11, and we're done. So this is how you deal with some more similar shapes. Hope this helped.